Mazda CX-30 and Mazda CX-50 in this video, these are sort of the bread and butter of Mazda's crossovers right in the heart of the SUV segment. This is going to be super informative. We are going to slice and dice our way through these competitors line by line and side by side to help figure out which one is the best for your dollars and ultimately to help you make a better purchase decision.
Plenty of you asking what the key differences are between the two and how they compare for your dollar, so let's see how they stack up mathematically.
Canadian pricing first. American viewers, stay with me because I've got some specific analysis just for you a little later in the video. But to start with, for a Canadian shopper, you can sort of see the conundrum here, with the CX-30 starting something like $11,000 cheaper than the CX-50, but then the top-line CX-30 GT Turbo is more or less the same price as the entry-level Mazda CX-50. What is one to do? The basic and top-of-the-line trims for the CX-30 are separated by $12,500. For the CX-50, make it a little less than $10,000. On average, you'll pay roughly $9,000 to $11,000 more for a CX-50 than a CX-30. And the cheapest and most expensive models in this entire comparison video are separated by over $21,000. But the point here is that there's just enough pricing overlap that if one of these machines is in your budget, then probably so is the other. By the way, 2024 model year changes for the Mazda CX-30 include removing rain-sensing wipers, adding wireless charging and connectivity to some trim levels, changes to exterior colors, and the 2.5-liter engine now becomes standard with the 2-liter base engine dropped. The CX-30 also gets a larger infotainment system screen for 2024, and when it comes to the CX-50, there are no changes for this year.
So, how should you spend your money?
For length, it's the CX-50 in the lead by 12.8 inches, 32.5 centimeters if you like, and that makes it about 7.4% longer than the CX-30. On wheelbase, the CX-50 takes the lead by 6.4 inches, 16.3 centimeters, or 6%. On width, it's a virtual tie with the CX-50 leading the CX-30 by half an inch, 1.3 centimeters, or less than 1%. On height, the CX-50 leads the CX-30 by 1.8 to 2.2 inches. That's 4.5 to 5.4 centimeters, or roughly 3 to 4%. On ground clearance, it's the CX-50 in the lead by 0.3 to 0.6 of an inch. That's 0.7 to 1.6 centimeters if you like, meaning that when it comes to ground clearance, you'll find 4 to 8% more in the CX-50.
And that's depending on the wheel options, with the larger wheels giving you more height and more ground clearance.
And now for your passengers. For front headroom, the CX-50 takes it by 0.8 of an inch, 2.1 centimeters, or about 2%. For rear headroom, the CX-30 is in the lead by the exact same amount, 0.8 of an inch, 2.1 centimeters, or just a little over 2%. Front seat legroom is an identical tie between these machines, but on rear seat legroom, the CX-50 takes the lead by 3.5 inches, that's 9 centimeters, giving you about 10% more back seat legroom than the CX-30. Interestingly, the CX-30 takes the lead on front and rear hip room by about 1 inch. On shoulder room, the CX-50 beats the CX-30 just barely by 0.3 of an inch, that's 0.7 of a centimeter, or 0.5%. And on rear shoulder room, the two are an identical tie. The cargo floor length in the CX-50 is about 4 inches, 10.1 centimeters, or 10% longer than the CX-30's. And on cargo volume with the rear seats up, it's a 55% advantage for the CX-50. And with the rear seats folded, the CX-50 maintains its cargo volume advantage over the CX-30 by 25%.
That's great if you got a dog. Or a cat. Does your cat do car rides?
No.
No? They usually don't, right?
No, well, he'd be stuck to the roof.
So that's the size, dimensions, and capacities compared, but what's under the hood?
So your engine choices for the CX-30 are a 2.5-liter four-cylinder with 191 horsepower and 186 pounds of torque, or a 2.5-liter four-cylinder turbo with 227 horsepower and 310 pounds of torque. In the CX-50, it's a 2.5-liter four-cylinder, slightly less horsepower at 187, but the same 227 horsepower and 310 pounds of torque from the turbo. All of these figures are using regular grade gas. Both turbo engines can make a little more power and a little more torque by spending a lot more money on 93 octane. But most owners don't bother, and the Mazda turbo engine is designed to run with whatever octane level you give it out of the factory. The CX-30's 48-liter fuel tank might prove too small if you're going with the turbo engine and doing a lot of driving in more remote areas. During my test drive through hundreds of kilometers of northern Ontario, I definitely got range anxiety on a few occasions. But the larger 60-liter fuel tank in the CX-50 would help solve that problem. The Mazda CX-30 is not rated for towing. The CX-50 can tow 2,000 pounds or 907 kilograms with the base engine, or 3,500 pounds, that's 1,588 kilograms if you go with the turbo. And both models have a 4.2-liter washer fluid tank.
But just how much does your choice of vehicle and engine affect your fuel budget? Well, I've run a bunch of numbers, and here's what I've come up with to show you right down to dollars and cents.
So here are the fuel consumption rates for each model with each engine. In Canada, we use liters per 100 kilometers. In the US, you're probably using miles per gallon. So let's start with a hypothetical Canadian driver who pays $1.60 a liter for regular unleaded and drives 20,000 kilometers per year. Full annual and monthly fuel costs for that hypothetical driver up on your screen. But key takeaways: the added fuel cost of running the turbo engine in the CX-30 versus the non-turbo engine is about $320 a year, that's roughly $27 a month, a difference of about 12%. But the added cost of running the turbo engine in the CX-50 versus its non-turbo engine is about half that amount, $160 annually, $13 a month, or roughly 6%. The CX-30 Turbo and CX-50 Turbo both drink almost exactly the same amount of your gas dollars to cover the same distance. Literally an annual fuel cost difference between the CX-30 Turbo and CX-50 Turbo of something like $30. So there's not too much to sweat when it comes to your gas budget by choosing one way or the other in this comparison, with just $352 per year separating the least from the most expensive model to drive. Now let's take a hypothetical American driver who's paying $3.25 US cents per gallon of regular unleaded and driving 12,000 miles per year. Here, the differences are even smaller. Mostly under $10 a month and no more than $18 by choosing the most fuel-efficient option over the most fuel-efficient option. So for our hypothetical average American driver, the least and most fuel-efficient options in this comparison are separated by less than $220 per year.
So really, not much to sweat when it comes to the fuel bill differences between these two machines, but interesting that the turbo engine in both of these models gives you the exact same fuel economy rating, but the non-turbo engines don't. So which one would I choose? Well, realistically, with my own dollars, as much as I really enjoy that turbo engine in the CX-30 and that sportier, lighter feel and that high-performance punch, the hit that you take on space really does matter to me as a dog owner, and I found the CX-50 did a better job with ride quality on the bashed-up back roads that we commonly have here in Northern Ontario as well. And so for me and my own money, it's going to be a CX-50 non-turbo in this case.
And if you understand all of that a little better now and have a clearer sense of what you'll spend your money on, then be sure to let your fellow drivers know down in the comments section below. Leave me a like if you're watching on YouTube, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any new uploads. I'm Justin Pritchard in Sudbury, Ontario. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.